Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 180. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Joshua Taylor. We are back, and we are playing with Power. Josh, it is just us two tonight. There is no Ryan. However, we have replaced Ryan with a qualifying guest. For the first time ever to the show, give it up for Mr. Parker. How are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm great. So
glad we can have you on. I know we've had this one planned for a few months, and it's a special one. Ryan's not allowed on tonight because tonight is about monkeys and a rare game. And Ryan, we all know, well, he just don't get down with like us rare fanboys do. So we kicked him off, and we replaced him with Parker. You should feel honored. No problem. Well, I don't want to waste any time, guys. I think we should get right into what we have been radical rexing about. All right, Parker, since you are our guest, man, what is you're well-known listener to the show. What is some things you're radical rexing about in life right now?
Well, video games I've been playing. I've been playing Super Mega Baseball 3 on the Switch.
That's right.
I've been slowly creating. I plan to create 31 teams. So right now I have kind of a best friends team, and then I have a Gryffindor team, a Hufflepuff, a Slytherin, a Ravenclaw, WWF Legends, WCW Legends right now. So it's going to be a big smorgasbord. There'll be a Dragon Ball Z team and a whole bunch of other teams. So
I love it. Anything else?
Not a whole lot I've been playing recently. I got all the way to disc 4. I mean, technically disc 4 on Final Fantasy 8. And I've never beaten it. It's the only Final Fantasy game I've ever played. And we had it for the original PlayStation growing up. And then I got it when it was remastered for the Switch. So 8? I got all the way there. Yeah, 8. It's the best one. You remember?
Oh, my gosh. That's what Ryan's obsessed with. That's right.
It's the only one I ever played. It's one of those games where when you're a kid, your parents just buy you games.
Yeah.
I didn't really research games when I was younger. And it was one of those things we got for Christmas. We're like, what the heck is this? Mm-hmm. But and then it ended up being, pretty fun. It's kind of like a middle school, high school sort of game. So,
honestly, those are some of the best games. Like the games you don't expect and you just play it because you got it, and it turns out to be really cool.
Yeah. So, then I threw that video game tournament a few weeks back and almost cleaned house with that. Ended up winning doubles of Halo 3, and then ended up winning Mario Kart 8, Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Nice.
I got second in NBA Playgrounds 2, and then I got dead last in Mario Party as the norm. But
well, for some reason, that's what happens. The real gamers lose at Mario Party, and the lucky newbies will always win at Mario Party. So
yeah, it was a lot of fun. So.
Well, cool. All right. Well, Josh, man, what about you? You got anything you're radical rexing about as of late? I know you are. Oh boy, here we go.
I'll get there. I actually got a lot
of too, actually.
Junk, but to start, actually, for not gaming related stuff, we went camping this past weekend for a few days. Took off Thursday. Friday was West Virginia Day, so I had that off. So that was awesome. We usually go once a year to Beach Fork, and I enjoy it. Like, it sucks having to put up everything when you're done, but yeah, it was a good time. Now, outside of that, I've been, still trying to keep up with my writing and things like that. I finally finished up 2 big reviews recently, so I'm kind of like just waiting for the next thing with that. But stepping it up, I guess, in sort of the community I'm a part of. And part of the reason I went on that trip a while back with the Rabbids community, I became a moderator with that whole thing with Discord, so that was nice. Just trying to be more a part of that, and keeping how do I word it? I guess in Ubisoft's memory, if that makes any sense. But outside of that, so yeah, with actual game related stuff, I'll get the first one out of the way here that I know Jacob's rolling his eyes about is it was leaked anyway, but the trailer for Crash 4 came out today, and I think it looks awesome. Now it's not coming to Switch, unfortunately, at least not yet. But
it'll come out 2 years after.
Possibly, yeah. I'll get it for Xbox One. It looks really good.
Sorry, Ryan.
I like what they did with it. Now, and also today, before that, they had announced Min for Smash Brothers, so that was awesome.
Oh yeah, I didn't even watch that.
Bing Bing.
Yeah, I put a ton of time into ARMS, especially with family and stuff. So I almost didn't care who made it from that series. I just was glad to see somebody there. And I think they did an awesome job with that. Outside of that, I've only been kind of playing around with a couple different games I've been bouncing back and forth between with Trials. Gosh, I forget the actual name for that one. Trials Fusion, I think. So that game's pretty sweet. I don't know if you've played any of those. It's the one where you ride the motorcycles across different obstacle courses and stuff. So those are good fun. And playing a lot of Assassin's Creed Black Flag when my daughter is not in the room. So, that game's awesome. So
cool.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I think that's about it. I think I'm done running my mouth for now.
Praise the Lord.
I did not hear about Crash Bandicoot 4, so that's news to me. That's actually pretty cool. So I played all the Crashes growing up. We got a PlayStation for free when I was pretty young. My dad taught special ed, and so then he just brought it home. So that's how we got our PlayStation 1, and we had all the Crash Bandicoot games. And I've been trying to tell Jacob to play the third one because that's my favorite one. And
I agree.
I said, don't play the remastered. I'm like, the remastered was okay, but I actually liked the polygon look version better. I felt like it played better, but.
Yeah, I never had a Sony system. I actually played it on the trilogy for the first. Well, really play it. I played through all three of them on there, and 3 was my favorite on the remaster. Anyway, 1 was rough around the edges.
I played the 1 for the remastered, and I was like, I did not remember it being this hard. And then I busted out the PS1 version. It didn't seem as hard on the PS1, but it still was the most challenging of the 3 in my opinion.
It's terrible. I mean, you stub your toe. You stub your toe on like a turtle. You're getting.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Well, look out for those turtles with the spikes on the side of their shell. That's what you got to look out for.
Yeah, right.
That's how they grow them.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool. Don't get me wrong. That's a cool concept of 4, it would be really cool if Nintendo came out with like a Super Mario Brothers 4, to be honest, like in the vein of like moving on from Mario Bros 3. I know that was Mario World, but like, I think it would be cool to like, what if they went back and they basically like did a full on out like 2D art style Mario game platform like that called Super Mario Brothers 4, kind of like what they did with Sonic. Remember when they did that with Sonic? They came out with the next one. That is pretty cool, I think. So I'm sure the game will be fine and it'll be modern, so it'll be very much better. And then it'll come to Switch in about 2 years when people aren't even thinking about it anymore for some dumb reason. I don't know why. I don't know why Switch gets stuff late. It's quite annoying.
Yeah.
But okay. So what am I radical correcting about, I guess?
All right, on to the topic.
I mean, there's not much I'm radical correcting about, I suppose. I'm just taking life one day at a time. It's pretty much the same. I don't play any games right now, so it would have been nice to have a game to play yesterday because we just had a lazy day for Father's Day. My kids did make me some homemade stuff with their handprints on it, and they got me that little puppy card, which is cute. So, I had a decent weekend with them. Just taking life one day at a time, like I said, just trying to figure things out. Worried as heck about like unemployment checks right now, even though it's like, I guess, getting personal on a podcast. But I don't know. They just asked me a weird question yesterday when I refilled it out, and I wasn't used to that. Normally, it's been pretty formulated. I think it's been like a formula that I've been able to just know how to fill it out, and then they asked me these new questions. I was like, oh, what does that mean? So hopefully everything's golden and good, but I'm not too concerned on it. But so I had that on my plate. Yeah, nothing really. Yeah, so I guess we could go on the topic, huh? So I don't know.
Call your mom up and say you want your video games back.
She was here yesterday. She did swing by. I should have. I thought about asking her to bring the Switch back by, but the only games I get to play is the games that my little girl asks me to help out with. Here you go, Riley. On my phone, this app called Kidopia, and it's like an educational app and teaches them how to do things. And when she gets stuck, she asks me to help her. So that's my gaming right now. Kidopia. But yeah, besides that, life's pretty much just getting better one day at a time. So, but with that said, guys, we should get into the topic at hand here. And this topic today is going to be all about our beloved monkeys. It's the third game in the trilogy, Donkey Kong Country 3. Doing Donkey Kong Country 3, and we have Parker on specifically today because this is his favorite game in the series there. I forgot to ask Josh or Parker to pull it up, but guys, in the meantime, if you want to, why don't you go ahead and find the release date on that, and we'll say here when it originally was released. But I know our crowd or listeners can't see this, but I did have before I got screwed over by the guy who made these. He was cool for a while, and he made me I got the Donkey Kong Country trilogy, and I got my favorite N64 games where he made me plastic hard cases with reprinted art of the games. So, and then I have the cartridge on the inside with real artwork. And so I have the actual game in there, and I need to purchase the booklet, and it's just got a slot, and I can put the booklet in there. So it's one of my prized collector's pieces that I don't ever want to sell, and I'll pass down to my kids one day, unless my next wife makes me sell everything Nintendo. Then I guess I got to do what the new boss will say, right? But
I don't know about that now.
We'll get there.
It came out November 18th, by the way, in 96.
96. Yep.
Okay, November 18th. Wow, 19. Dude, 96. I just turned 6 years old. It's so nuts. And it's crazy. I remember on our commercials episode, I remember seeing the commercial for this. I just remember being downstairs in the downstairs part of my parents' house on just it was like the game room area that we had. And we had a TV, and I was just watching cartoons. And I remember the commercial coming on of them going to that biker bar.
That's a weird commercial.
Oh yeah, they show that attractive woman figure like just standing there, and then all of a sudden it turns around to this ugly chimpanzee. It makes you feel kind of bad. Like at first you're like, whoa, it's just kind of attractive, and then like, oh gosh, she's gross. However, as a kid, you didn't know anything, but the monkey just kind of scares you, I guess. But you guys remember that commercial?
No, I don't remember that commercial. I was also 6 when it came out. Actually.
Yeah, we're like, you just turned 6, right?
Oh, it came out the day before my birthday. So.
Okay. Yeah.
I just turned 7, so I'm the old guy here.
You are the old guy. Parker and I, we literally have we're the same age, so all of our nostalgia lines right up with each other. Unlike you, Josh.
Josh, I can tell you're the old guy. I knew that right away.
It's the lack of hair here, this reverse widow's peak thing.
At least he's honest. He calls it out. But yeah, I do remember it vaguely. And I didn't have a Super Nintendo. So as a matter of fact, growing up, this was the only Donkey Kong Country game I never had played. Traven didn't have Donkey Kong Country 3. He had 1 and 2, and that's where my nostalgia came from that. And I've told this story many times, but yeah, I come from a family of 5 kids, and at the time there were 5 of us there, and games were very expensive to a family that big. And my mom, we just had Game Boy. I was living off Game Boy all that time, from the NES through when the 64 came out. And I remember my big pitch to get the 64 was like, it has 4 controllers, Mom, and we can all share. And it eventually apparently worked because we got a 64 for Christmas. So, but this ain't about the 64. This is about Donkey Kong Country 3. So, Parker, why don't you tell us your original nostalgic memories with this game? What you remember when you first saw the game, and was your first time seeing the game when you got it, or was it like you saw it at a friend's, then you got it later? And yeah, we'll go with Josh as well, and then we can just kind of dissect the game here and go through it.
Well, the first time I saw the game was we had it. I can't remember ever getting it. As far as I know, we always had it, but obviously I would have been at least 6 when we got it. The first thing I remember is when we just, right in the beginning, you just jump into this water, and then it swims up to the save cave with your grandma in there, and she's got a whole bunch of stuff in there. She's got an N64 in there. I'm like, whoa,
yes.
That's the new system. And I'm like, how does that make sense? So this is the old system. How do they know that was coming out? So I just didn't understand that as a kid. But
that is cool.
Yeah, and then just finding out that you go to Funky's Kong, you get introduced to Kitty and he gives you a motorboat, and it's just like a free open world, and that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, whoa, I can go wherever I want. It's not a linear path like Super Mario World, which I also love, but I can just wander in this water, and I fell in love with the art design. That's my favorite art design there is in Super Nintendo, the 3D pre-rendered graphics. And
so it makes it better than Mario World. One of the reasons.
Yeah. So, they had so many things that I loved. I loved just driving around in the vehicles. And then when you beat other bosses, you unlock new vehicles, and you can open more parts of the map that were always there. And that kind of is what I really liked. There were rocks in the way, and you needed the hovercraft to drive over the rocks. And then there's waterfalls, and you need the ski boat to go over the waterfalls. And so
it added a lot of elements that you didn't have in the other Kong games. Like you said, it did have an open hub world, which was cool. And that fact that you had to get certain items to reach different parts of it. It definitely was like an introduction to just a small sliver of what the 64 was going to be like, Just the fact that you could travel around in a lot of different areas. Because, the next game that comes up is Mario 64 for Nintendo, and you could go everywhere, literally, and walk in the world. And we all know how it was, and it was amazing and mind-blowing. And even, fun fact, like, they play Mario 64 theme song in the game. Like, if you go to Funky's, or not Funky.
Save Cave.
Yeah, you go to the save cave. Sometimes it would be playing it, and that's just so cool. That you got to hear it before it actually came out in reality. So at the time people didn't know, but now that you go back, I'm like, what? That's so cool. It's so cool. Like, that's what I always loved about Rare. Rare was always doing fun, unique things like that. Little teases, little even jokes or hints in their games to other Nintendo games, and you just don't see it anymore. I'm sorry, you just don't see it really anymore. Maybe here or there, but I guess Retro did have like a Metroid in their Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze game that you had to like be very patient and wait for it to come out. But Josh, what about you, man? What was your first introduction to this game?
So this one, it all kind of blurs together with this. The original Donkey Kong Country trilogy, I guess. I know my dad and I played through all of them, like, as they came out. We probably got them at least near release. I don't remember for sure. I know we had pre-ordered the first one, so we probably did the same with this one. But yeah, as far as I remember, I played through it first with him, and I've gone back to it, I don't know how many times over through the years, just like the other Donkey Kong Country games. For this one, it felt kind of different. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. 1 and 2, I felt similar. Where 3, I felt like stuck out a little bit more. I think part of it was like that overworld map, the way the DK coins work, the way you had to, find that middle barrel and everything. And with Dixie being the main character and Kitty not really being Donkey Kong, it stuck out, I felt like, a little bit more than the other two. 2 is my favorite, but I could definitely understand how 3 would stick out to someone else even. It had a lot of aspects to it that the others don't.
Go ahead.
They introduced like a money system, which I really liked too, and my brother was really into that and collecting coins and then using it to buy certain items from the bears. And then you had to use those items, and whichever bear needed like a gift or a shell or a mirror, like they would, you'd have to buy some of them and then give them to somebody else, and he would give you a banana bird or something like that. And I love those banana birds in the save cave when you went in there, and every time you got a new one, it would be in that save cave, and every time I'd get one, I'd go to a save cave so I can see the bird in the cave. And then when you get like, I don't know if there's 15 or so when they're all in there, I'm like, oh my goodness, lady, and like, this bird it's getting out of control here. But yeah, so
the game, it was. I have to actually make a confession, and I think I'm going to shock a lot of people with this, but this is the only Donkey Kong Country game I've actually never beaten. Even to this day. Like, I have it. I have obviously the cartridge. I have it on my SNES Classic. And the main reason I have it on my 3DS. The main reason I haven't beaten it is because Traven and I started a joint file a while ago, and well, we're adults and we've gotten through most of the game, but we said we wanted to beat the game together, and we just kind of wait on each other. Or otherwise, I would have trucked through it all already. But the game has some challenging stuff. It was different. Like, the Kremlings look so much different in this game than they did in the past 2. Different colors, different types. And this was made by a different team, first and foremost. This was not the same team that made DKC 1 and 2. Because that team had moved on and had started work on Diddy Kong Racing and Banjo-Kazooie. And so this was a whole new team. And even the composer, this is the first time David Wise was not involved with this game, because he was working on 64 games, which is just so odd, because David Wise is like the master of the Donkey Kong Country games. he did all of DKC 2, and he did joint stuff on DKC 1. Most of your most famous stuff from that one is his. And the other composer was Evelyn Fisher at the time, I believe her last name was. Yeah. And she is the main composer on this. And she doesn't do a bad job, but you can definitely tell it's different. And it's not quite the same as what David Wise would have done. But with that said, there are some good, fun tracks, especially the intro track, even though it's the whole first, even that first song you hear, there's a debate about, it gives off the feeling of what DKC 3 is like to people. Some people want like a realistic feel, seriousness like you get with DKC 1 and 2 with the music that you hear. And this one just kind of starts off as like welcome to the circus, like a boom, 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 but a boom, bump, 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 bump. Yeah, I can play it in the background here so you hear my voice. I like the song. It definitely is different, but it was fun, and it makes you like, all right, let's go on a little adventure, And I think it fits. It fits our new monkey friend for the game, and Kiddy Kong is kind of clunky and lumpy, and he's a baby, and I think it feeds well into the silliness of what his character is. Kiddy Kong is actually like the most hated Kong. I think everyone thinks he looks terrible, and he is like, well, he hasn't been back ever since, unfortunately. So
I never understood that. I always liked him. I didn't find out until later on when it like became this big thing on Twitter to hate on him that nobody liked him apparently.
Yeah, I was under the illusion that this was the best Donkey Kong Country game in the series, and then I found out later in life when I was older that it's the least liked of the series. and speaking of Kiddy Kong, I always thought he grew up into Chunky Kong from the Donkey Kong 64. I thought that was him. I knew he had a different name, but I was just like, well, that, he kind of looks like Kiddy Kong, but grown up.
His brother.
Yeah, he's just this big guy like the Kiddy Kong was in 3. And but you were talking about clunky. I forgot to mention they also introduced, I think, a throwing mechanic where you could throw Dixie up and she could land on something up above, or you could throw Kiddy and he wouldn't land on something above, but he could break boards and stuff like that.
Find secrets with him, which was unique. Yeah, I always thought because like I said, I completely skipped this game back in my nostalgia days, and I had DK64, which was made by the same team who made this game, and I always thought Chunky Kong was like his big brother or something. I thought they were related a lot. Looking back, honestly, I don't know. I mean, I should know that. I'm so sorry. I'm embarrassed.
I know Dixie and Tiny are sisters. I thought, and then Dixie and Kitty are cousins. So anyway, sorry.
We're related somehow. I mean, the whole story premise of this game is so funny and stupid. It's like, sorry, Riley. Thank you. My daughter corrects me. She knows not to say that word. So
maybe we need to dive into the cartoon to really figure out what.
Oh my gosh, let's not even go. We need to do an episode about the cartoon one day.
Kitty is sadly not in the cartoon though.
It's true.
That would have made it perfect.
Gosh, we'll do an episode about that another day for sure. When Ryan's not here, we can talk.
A whole other story.
And the coconut and everything.
Oh gosh, it's Kiddy Kong. Let's just talk about the story a little bit. It's pretty funny if you actually think about it. Like, I mean, literally, everyone loves Funky Kong, but let's be honest, he's really like a crap babysitter. He's supposed to be watching Kiddy Kong the whole time, and then Dixie shows up and he's like, "Hey, take this baby with you," and then they go on. Yeah, here, take my speedboat, and here, take this baby with you. I don't want to watch him, kind of thing. That's what I love about the Kong games is that their stories are the stories are crap. I mean, everyone wants a good quality story, but the second adventure in Donkey Kong Land, was about Cranky Kong calling up K. Rool, said, "Hey, take your bananas back. I'll give them back." To undo everything they just did in Donkey Kong Country, he's like, "I'm going to prove to these guys that it takes more than fancy graphics to make a good game for the Game Boy." And it's just, I love that. I love the groundbreaking, or not groundbreaking, the fourth wall breaking humor that it adds. It's very British humor, and apparently I would like British humor because it's well into these games and they make me laugh.
It's supposed to be dumb. It's kind of the charm of it, you know?
Yeah.
I love it.
But then
the banana birds make total sense, you know.
Oh, right. But that's why I love the games too, because it's like, especially with the music, even in this game, you know, it's not David Wise, there are some good tracks. And it's like, this game is a crap story. This game is about cartoon monkeys, and yet it has some of the most dramatic and most beautiful music that is in any video game. Like, when I listen to the songs, I'm like, why is this in this game? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I love that. I love that so much. And I think it's cool. The story's crap, but it's a fun game. And K. Rool is not. Oh, K. Rool. Spoilers. K. Rool is he's not the main. He's not the main baddie, but is he? We're used to K. Rool always being the bad guy for this in the Kong games at this point, and there's a new baddie in town, and the Kremlings have pledged their loyalty to this new ruler, and that ruler is a robot named Chaos. You want to tell us a little bit about Chaos, Parker? Who's Chaos?
Chaos is this basically this green robot with kind of razor blades and punching gloves inside of himself. And you jump on the razor blades to get up high, and you hit his head, and then his helmet flies off, and then he's got kind of like a Terminator skeleton head underneath. I think he's the main bad guy in the industrial place, and then or industrial stage, and then you face him again in the end stage, but then someone else comes out after him. Behind the curtain. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. It's who is it, Josh?
Baron K. Rool and
Baron
Baron K. Rolenstein.
Yeah. King K. Rool's back. He's actually been behind it the whole time. Spoilers. Sorry, this game is like over 20 years old. You should know by now. But yeah, he's back, and this is really, if you look at, we need to do a character episode just to, maybe we did, I don't know. K. Rool. I think we did. Sorry, it's been a while. We've done a lot of episodes.
Hey, that was my first episode, I think.
With that, the spotlight of K. Rool. He slowly gets more mad over time. And he loses every time. He just changes with each game, and at this point, he's far out crazy. I mean, he thinks he's a mad scientist. He's pulled one over on all the Kremlings because they overthrew him because he led them to failure once again against the Kongs. This time he's just pretending to be a giant robot that they're dumb enough to pledge their loyalty to. But it's really him. And I haven't gotten to the boss fight, so I don't know what it's like. You guys want to elaborate a little bit on, was it difficult? I mean, K. Rool was the first game. Yeah, it gets difficult. But I would argue that in DKC 2, he's much more difficult than what he was in DKC 1. What's he like in DKC 3? I mean, he has representation in Smash Bros. Now with his up B, and he puts on the outfit and flies up. So, which is cool. But what's he like? What? Explain that to me.
Yeah, he was fairly challenging because there's these electrocution balls underneath that would zap, and you'd have to pull kind of like a handle, and it would drop a barrel down that you have to hit him in the back with. You couldn't hit him in the front. So then when you pulled the barrel down, it'd land on the ground. But then later, as it kind of progressively gets more challenging, where the lightning bolt you have to run down there to pick up the barrel, but you got to be quick because the lightning bolt's going to come across and it'll either destroy the barrel or if you're down in there, it'll obviously knock you out too. Right. So, and spoilers for you, Jacob, you actually face Baron K. Rulenstein a second time once you go through the secret stage too.
Oh, okay.
And I found him to be a little bit easier in the second time you play him, but they have a lightning bolt above you where you can't jump.
Oh, wow. So that's kind of like DKC2. In DKC2, you have the Lost World. You go through there with Clubba. Once you beat all those levels, K. Rool's at the end of it. He pops up and he's like, he was beat up from your battle the first time, and sorry, my daughter needed help there. He's beat up. You knock him into the water, and at the end of DKC2, and then he's there covered in like seaweed from the ocean and dripping with water and breathing heavy, and he's just like going to get you with revenge, which then ultimately leads to the genocide of the Kremlin Island. He does the same thing basically in DKC3. Once you get through what do you have to do? What's the progress for the extra world, the Lost World in DKC3?
The Lost World, there is, once you get the hovercraft, you can get it with the hovercraft if you're skilled enough driving around, because I think a lot of people wait till you get the jet ski, which is faster. And you have to drive around these 4 stones like 2 or 3 times, and then once you drive around the stones, basically like a volcano comes out of the water, and that's the bonus stage. And you can do that, once you have those vehicles.
Okay.
But you have to unlock each level of that secret stage, you have to have a certain amount of bonus coins.
Okay. So similar to DKC2.
And I think for the last one, you'll need, almost all of them, if not all of them, to unlock the last level of that secret stage.
That's what made those games so great, though. Like all the collecting that you had to do to get to where you can 102% the game. It wasn't just 100%. You got to go above that and beyond that, and that's what makes these games enticing and fun. And of course, they just get drastically harder the deeper you go into the game.
Yeah, and I enjoyed. They introduced the Kremlin holding the DK shield.
Oh yeah,
barrel behind him to hit. I thought that was a really cool mechanic, and sometimes you had to throw the barrel up above and then go sprinting across and try to get him to lift up his shield so he can hit him in the back, because if it comes at him at the front, he'll just block it. So, and if you get all the DK coins, you get the gyrocopter, which you can use to just fly through the whole map. So it's actually nice to get a reward for collecting all the collectibles and stuff.
Right. No, absolutely. I agree with that entirely. That's what made the games extra fun, gave you more of an incentive to do those things. But I wanted to talk about the bosses real quick too. Sure. We have highlighted those. The bosses were, I feel like, it's kind of funny how this game was actually looked as like the least favorite in the trilogy, because the bosses in this game are a lot more unique than the other bosses from the past 2 games. The last 2 games were very simple of, 3 hits and you're out almost. Whereas this one, I really feel like they made it unique to take out the bosses. I'm going to pull a list up of the bosses here. Let me see 3. You have a favorite boss while I'm looking this up?
Well, the one I had the most fun with as a kid is actually the first boss. He's a big barrel, and you you jump on bugs to flip them over on their back so you can pick them up, and then you throw them inside his mouth. He kind of chews them up and he burps. And as a young 6 or 7 year old, that's the funniest thing in the world. And I'd always so when he burps, he flies backwards, and I'd always like sprint after him, and I'd like jump in and kind of like chest up to him, like, yeah, I'm like, get back there. So I'd always think I was doing something. I'm like, oh, he looked like he inched a little bit farther when I jumped into him and hit him like in the face,
right.
body. But yeah, and then he falls off the edge, and if you get him to burp enough times. So I thought that was really good kid humor. So I enjoyed that a lot. And then there's the second boss is the spider who kind of shoots boogers at you.
Oh gosh. He, when until you figure out the formula, he gets to be a bit difficult. That is Arich. Maybe if I'm saying that right. It's Arich. So, and after that you have Squirt, who's he's just a giant rocky slug who lives on a waterfall, and he shoots water at you.
You shoot him in the eyes.
Yeah, and he just tries to push you off the edge. Then obviously Chaos, and then Bleak is a snowman, and that was a unique fight too. Bleak was more of a he was like in the background.
Yeah, they use the mechanic for there's these circus tents that you can play, and you can play it for it's a very kind of introduction to gambling. And you would put in 2 coins, and then you would gamble 2 coins, and if you would win against it was kind of like a that carnival game where you would knock the targets down with like a silver ball.
Yeah.
And, so you do that, and there was different types. There was endurance head to head, and I forget what the other one is. Race to 25, I think.
Race to 25.
Yep. So you did that.
I'm back, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, my job. But my brother loved that. He, like I said, he was all about the collecting money. So he'd do those, and so you'd get money that way, and then they introduced the boss level with the laughing snowman, which I thought was funny. He goes ha 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 ha, ha when you would hit him. So
this is you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Bleak is actually really the introduction to the snowmen that actually appear in Banjo-Kazooie. It's kind of a brief. I mean, they look exactly the same. They have high top hats, and they're snowmen that throw snowballs at you. And I think that I'm pretty positive that that's what inspired those villains of Banjo-Kazooie.
He always makes me think of Bad Mr. Frosty from Clay Fighter.
Oh, I can see that, even though I never played that game, but I can see that. Because they even, in Banjo-Kazooie, they even laugh, just like what you just said. They laugh pretty much the same. So, that's a fun little fact there. And then, you know what, dude? It's like, after that is Barbos, who's a large Barbos is a large lurchin who resides in the area Razor Ridge. However, she is fought in Pacifica in the Game Boy Advance version, because there was that version there. I have to tell you, there's Croctopus, I guess, who's so they added a boss for the Game Boy Advance version only, it looks like. And Croctopus is located where Barbos is in the original game. I've been really close to beating this game because I see now that Baron K. Rulenstein is the next villain. And, I made it to the giant castle that storms down lightning bolts, but I never completed the world. So
you're close.
I'm very close. Yeah. I did that on my 3DS version, and I just stopped because I started playing it with Traven, and then well, we're adults and can't play games all the time together. So it's been like 2 years in the making for that saved file. We'll get there. So yeah, I'm really close to beating the game, which is exciting.
You get to get all the DK coins and everything?
Yep. We'll have to. I think we tried our best to do that, but we'll definitely go back and do it more.
I don't know if I want to spoil it for you yet, but the Lost World is pretty interesting to find.
Oh yeah, we've already talked about that, Josh. When you took your little break, we covered a bunch of stuff. You weren't even here last week, and you're taking breaks in the middle of the episode, which I
took a break. My
I
laptop
don't quite understand that, but this is why we don't pay Josh. He keeps asking for money, and we just don't pay him.
Hey,
he pulls crap like this. But Josh, do you have anything you want to add about the game? We're kind of wrapping up here with the game and in general. What are some of your final thoughts about the game yourself, Josh?
No, not now. You already talked about it. No, I'm kidding. One of the things, I don't know if you all mentioned it, I feel like a lot of the stuff in this game in particular was a little more experimental or just kind of out there.
Yeah.
Like, there is a level later on, I think it's in the Lost World actually, that it's like you ride in a rocket barrel, like the whole level. And you have to avoid a bunch of walls and stuff. I thought that one was always super cool, but I don't remember anything quite like that. I guess you could kind of compare it to like a minecart level, perhaps from the old games. But like that one, the lightning one Jacob just talked about, there's one where you have to race like a time.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And if you beat a certain time, it opens up a path to a banana bird.
Yep.
But yeah, just a lot of cool little things like that I feel like stuck out. Some things worked better than others, I guess, but I think for the most part it worked out pretty well.
It makes me feel bad for this team. I mean, the team that worked on DKC3 is the same team that did DK64, and both games get a lot of bad rap today. Yeah. Like, it makes you feel like these people don't know what they're doing. I mean, which I would disagree with. I mean, I think that DKC3 is a fun game. It's challenging, and they did a lot of unique things that, some were better than others, but in general, they tried to do something different, and you got to give them credit for that. It wasn't awful at all. And even DK64 was a great game, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it. However, yes, there are a lot of issues with that game that we see today, which I wasn't on for the 64 episode. That was last November when my world was crashing down. So there's a little bit of insight there on that episode from me. But Parker, what about you? Got any other final thoughts on the game here as we kind of close it out?
Oh yeah, there's so just to kind of highlight a few of my favorite levels. In the first stage, there's a snow level where the snow progressively gets worse. And I love winter and the snow, and so it starts off getting cloudy, and then you can see it snowing in the background, and then it kind of moves its way. It starts snowing more, and then it moves its way to the front where it's hard to see, and it's like, oh gosh, it's like, this is awesome. And then as you progress farther in the level, it backs off and starts to get calm again. And then the tree level, like inside the tree, I thought was really cool.
That was neat.
And then when they start sawing it down, and I was just like, I'm like, well, why are they sawing up a tree? Why aren't they? But that was super intense. I was just like, oh my gosh, get up the tree. But
it's heart pounding.
Yeah, I used to play this game a lot with my brothers, and the person that was the worst to play with though was my brother Trevor, who he would put me on his back, and then he would throw me.
Oh gosh.
And then it would be, I'd be Dixie Kong or something. I go, and then they kind of start crying, but like it's not audible.
Yeah.
And then he would leave me there, and he would just get up and jump over me, and he'd leave. I'm like, hey, come back and get me. And he's like, and then he would die, and then we'd have to go back to the checkpoint or the beginning, because I'm like, well, if you would have died, I would have been able to play. And he'd do that all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, hey, Trevor, can we just play the game? I'm like, so it's terrible. They introduced brothers. Yeah, they introduced a couple new buddies, the Ellie the elephant and the spider. I thought the mechanic with the elephant being afraid of mice was super clever.
Yeah.
If they saw the mice in the light, it would turn and run. And actually in the bonus stage, I think it's the first level in the bonus stage, there's a elephant run level where Ellie sees mice and she starts sprinting and you can't stop her. Mm-hmm. And it's actually, in my opinion, it's possibly the hardest level in the game.
Wow.
But yeah, so that was another one. I got a big kick. We talked about the bears, how the blue bear had super sad, slow music because he wanted to get for his birthday or something.
Brother's bear.
Yeah, so they also had a cool level with purple mist that turned your controls backwards.
Yep.
That was super challenging as a kid. And then the piranha level where you had to feed the piranha. I really enjoyed that level a lot. And you had to feed him the good fish because if you fed him sea urchins, they had spikes and he would start to turn red. And if you didn't feed him good fish quick enough, he'd turn on you and he'd start to attack you. So I thought that was a super cool level. And speaking of that level, the water songs, I know they're not as good as Aquatic Ambience, but when it starts out, it's like super eerie, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of creepy sounding. But then it turns a little bit into a different song. It doesn't do that eerie noise anymore. But
actually, in the Game Boy Advance version of it, David Wise did get hired to to transform the soundtrack to a Game Boy Advance, and he actually rewrote the whole song, which I think is actually better than the SNES version personally. Have you heard that version?
I have not.
Oh, you should YouTube it.
I know I have. They're both good, but yeah, it does stick out. It's good. It's a good. It sounds like it was on a Game Boy Advance, I guess. But
that's why he had to change it because he couldn't implement the sound that the SNES could for what Evelyn had done for that. So he just had to rewrite it himself, a new track, a new version of it. So, which was really good.
I actually have kind of one more story to add. If that's okay.
Go for it. Yeah, it's fine.
So
we can go all day, man. This is all night. This is Donkey Kong here.
Yeah, I'm loving this. But when we were kids, my mom would take away all video game systems and games during the summer.
Oh my gosh.
We weren't allowed to play video games in the summer.
Mom, that's like the opposite.
Yeah. So
it's so terrible.
My wife's like, good for your mom. But I was just like, we didn't play him that much. But she's like, you guys should be outside playing and stuff during the summer since you don't have school. And but we loved Donkey Kong Country 3 so much that we were playing like live action Donkey Kong Country 3. And my same brother Trevor, such a good sport. He was always the bad guy. And then
I'm shocked.
So my best friend Mitch and I were playing Donkey Kong Country 3, and we kind of mixed it up a little bit where we would collect coins and stuff like that, and we'd go and we would give the coins to Grandma, and my brother would throw a blanket over himself like a shawl sort of thing. He's like, "Oh, hi," and he's like, but he kind of made it into an RPG where he's like, do you want to give the money to Grandma or do you want to kill Grandma? And then it's just like, I'm like, what should we do? And then it's like, because
that's how Wrinkly Kong died.
Yeah. He had established that sometimes Grandma was an imposter and she'd steal our money. And so we're just like, what should we do? I don't know. He's like, it's an imposter. And then it's like, we're gonna kill Grandma, and then we just like kind of like swing a thing and hit him, and he goes, ugh, and then we're like waiting on the edge of our seat, and he's like, you killed Grandma. We're like, no. but
I love it.
Killed Wrinkly Kong.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he'd be chaos too. He'd have a blanket and he'd be swinging around like it's the Blades, and we'd jumping off the couches trying to take him out. And so
not the best. So like that's what nostalgia is all about, man. Doing stuff like that. Oh my gosh, I love that. So how many brothers do you have? How many siblings do you have?
I have 2 brothers and a younger sister. So
and you're the youngest of the boys. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm the same boat as you, basically.
Yeah. So, I have a little sister and older brothers. Yeah, that's so crazy. We like mirror each other. What? Except for I love DKC 2 more than DKC 3.
It's a good game. It's definitely the most challenging out of and I had a lot of fun playing too.
It is super hard. I always loved Dixie Kong though. Like I always feel like people. Well, honestly, actually, I struggled more with DKC 1 than I did DKC 2, and some people find that very surprising. And I just find DKC 2 easier because I feel like Dixie's hair like allows me to just have so much more control about where I jump and where I go. Whereas in DKC 1, you just gotta roll and jump, and you don't really have all the control about where you're going to land and how you're going to land. It's just kind of fast paced and go. Whereas I really feel like I could just kind of slow things down and get to where I need to be with Dixie.
Yeah, for the longest time, I never knew that Kiddy Kong can bounce on water by rolling.
Yeah.
So I never knew that growing up. We'd always kind of cheat the system, like we talked about that Riverside Race level.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's chasing you. They're like a flock of butterflies or wasps or something. I don't know.
Killer moth.
We would get to a spot where there'd be a bonus barrel where we couldn't get to, and we would sacrifice a player because when you take control of another player, they would jump a little bit higher. So that's how we would get up there. I never knew for the longest time that you could bounce with Kiddy Kong.
I didn't know that either. You just taught me something.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. You can skid across the water. It took me a long time too. Don't feel bad.
Wow. That's nuts.
And Jacob, when you get all the banana birds, you go back to the save cave, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for you too. But the banana birds all fly you up to the clouds, and there's a big mama banana bird.
You can't make this crap up. Yeah.
What's that, Josh?
I said you can't make this crap up. This is real.
This is a great story.
So she's behind this, stone wall, which you can see the ends of the stone wall. And I was just like, why doesn't she just go around the stone wall? There must be some magical enchantment where she needed all the banana birds to sing to break open the stone wall. And then and when she does that, you get a little bonus ending.
Oh.
So I won't spoil what that is. You can figure that out yourself. But it's pretty cool. So
you gotta love it. You can't make this stuff up, guys. This is Donkey Kong Country. I mean, this is better than Breath of the Wild. Story here. Seriously, that story sucked.
That's probably true. I've never played Breath of the Wild, so.
Oh wow! It's a great game. It's a fun game, unique, but
wonderful game. Yeah.
That story really, really let me down. That's for sure. But I think so. Better than all those Korok seeds you had to collect. All right, Parker, so since you're a guest, we like to let our guests, when they do some unique things or wherever they're from, if they're from a different community or whatever they do, just, tell our listeners a little bit about what you do, because we know that you are in the works of doing something fun, and we know it's not going to be out anytime soon, but you're doing stuff, and that's exciting, and we want to, just talk about it for a little bit here. So what is it that you're doing?
Well, my dream has been for quite a long time to make my own video game, kind of be a spiritual successor to Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country 3. I created these characters, and I've been working on that just kind of in my spare time. It's not like a job for me, but it's more of a hobby where I've been trying to create my own video game called Super Larry the Penguin.
Yes.
So, and it's a side-scrolling platformer game, and there's 4 playable characters. I plan to have it 4 players at the same time because I love playing with friends and family. And I think that's what it's all about. It'll have to be local and online because I get so frustrated when Nintendo puts a game out without online capabilities where they easily could.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the Penguins have all different abilities and they kind of level up with kind of like Mario levels up, but they it's not by collecting, it's by eating shrimp that they level up, or krill. So they become, there's 3 different forms that they become, and then they get kind of superpowers in their 3rd form. So, and they all have their different abilities that they can use to kind of get to different parts of levels and kind of open up different things. So right now, I've been doing level design right now, just kind of bare bones. It's a lot harder than one would think. So,
and you use Mario Maker too to kind of help map out like a rough draft of what you would like to do, right?
Yeah, it's it's easier to put it down on paper first, and then I try to transfer it over to Mario Maker to see if it'll be fun or to see if it works, and kind of it'll be something I have to do when I start programming it. And I definitely would need. I'm starting to realize I would need quite a bit of help on art design because I'm not the greatest artist. I can draw pretty well, but I'm not as well as I would want to be. I can't draw something as good as Donkey Kong Country 3. So, it'd be nice if I find somebody that is willing to kind of take that leap with me and want to do that. So,
well, I've already promised Parker I would make any music he wanted for his game. I think would be super cool. And I'm working on there's a game that's coming to the Switch actually that a good friend who lives in Europe. I already made a couple of tracks for his game, but they keep doing more and more, and he wants me to make some more tracks. And bless the guy, because he's been like so patient with me just because of all my life transitions. I have not made what he's asked me to make, but I am about to start it this week. And but I want to do the same for Parker as well when we get to that point. And it's bless you. It is it's fun, and I'm glad that you would allow me to even make any music for your game. So that's just an honor in and of itself.
Yeah, I've been listening to your podcasts for quite a while. I started from the beginning. I didn't start listening to it right when you guys started because I didn't know anything about podcasts back then. But I listened from the beginning. I found out you were making music, and it just kind of took me a long time to actually listen to your music. And then I was just sitting at home, and I was just like, you know what? I should probably. I'm a big fan of their show. I should probably listen to this music. And I didn't know what to expect. I was just like, well, it's probably not the greatest thing because it's not like his profession. And but I started listening to it, and I was just like, these are actually professional quality, really good. I'm like, it's a lot better than I can do at making this video game I've been trying, and it really inspired me to get back into making the video game because I kind of had taken a break after life got crazy with all my kids and moving and all that stuff and work. And I started playing some of the songs for my wife, and she was just like, what are you listening to? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, is that too loud? And she's like, no, it's really pretty. I'm like, well, it's Jacob Rush's song. And she's like, well, there you go. It's like, he can write music for your game. So.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I don't consider myself a professional by all means, and I figure things out as I go, but I do have a past with music of having my own band for 10 plus years, and I just that was always my favorite part about the band. It was not playing shows, even though those are fun in and of itself. It was always sitting down and writing new stuff. That was always my favorite, and more so the best part with video game music is I don't have to write any freaking lyrics that make sense and match up with each other. So it's like literally you just experiment and layer sounds over each other. And that's my favorite part. I just love making something fun, energetic, or beautiful. And it's Yeah, it's a fun process. So I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. I really appreciate the comments there. But cool, man. And you're not really on much social media at the moment, but when Larry the Penguin is ready to be shown off to the world, I expect to see some like Penguin Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts and a Facebook page, obviously, because we got to pump that Penguin out to the world.
Well, we'll see. I'm not really on any social media. My wife's on some social medias and stuff, but
I know she's always looking at my Facebook.
Yeah. So if you want to reach me, just bug Jacob enough, and he'll probably text me or something.
Yeah.
So
Parker and I text about every day, so which is great. This is good. He always sends me updates on his level design actually, and I give a little bit of feedback and what I think or not about it. And he always sends me a picture of his desktop. He's got all these desktop different every day when he goes into work. It changes to a new game, and it's like a mystery. And it's like, oh, what's it going to be today? Which is cool.
Yeah, it's just a compilation of my favorite games is the desktop at my work. So.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, we should round out the episode here. This will be one of the longest ones we've had in quite a while, which is great. Always good to be long over anything rare wise. Josh, can you do some of our due diligence here? I know normally Ryan does that stuff, but hey, we got to fill his shoes somehow.
Yeah, you're the old guy, so.
Yeah.
Well, I might not do it as well as Ryan, but sure.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, you all can, of course, find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff on Nintendo Nostalgia. Don't forget we have that Nintendo Nostalgia group on Facebook, actually. We have a lot of community stuff kind of going on there on and off. Now, also, you can find me mostly on Twitter at Whopper744Games. Jacob, where can they find you at?
Obviously, you can find me pretty much. Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not. I've just kind of like stepped back from social media with life and things that I'm doing in my own life right now. But you can find me on Facebook, and I have an old account and a new account. So take your guess which one I'm active on now. So and you can add me.
Alrighty. And then Parker, I know you said you're not on any sort of social media at the moment, but we'll be sure to keep up with that game and everything going on with you all. And, if you need any assistance from us, we'll be happy to help you out. So,
yeah, Josh writes reviews so he can review your game when it's ready.
Yeah, you pay me a little bit. No, I'm kidding. Please don't take that seriously. All right, then. I will go ahead and close this out here. Y'all have anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm pretty good.
All right. The only thing I have to add is y'all quit being so mean to Kitty Kong. He didn't do nothing.
All right. We'll see you next week.
We'll see y'all next week. There you go. Bye.
Bye. See you later. Hi, Charlotte.
Thank you.